Shalom. Well, it's been a busy couple of weeks. Things just keep popping off. The other day, we had a predictable event. If you've been paying attention, to the moves made beforehand, it's like a game of chess. You set up your big moves. You don't just make them. You take little individual steps beforehand to set the stage, and then you hit the big move. What we saw the other day are two individuals who, depending on which conflicting report you wish to go by, are alleged to have staged a hate crime terrorist attack on a Jewish market. There's videos of these individuals approaching a market, firing their weapons, a man and a woman. Now, since this is America, and these things seem to happen every other day, it wouldn't seem like this is all that big of a deal, except for there's one new little curve in this story. And that is that these individuals are allegedly were or are members of an Israelite, a black Hebrew Israelite group of some kind. Now, there's so many Israelite groups out there. So many of us have taken it upon ourselves to form our own little coalitions, give it a nice little snazzy name. Instead of seeing this as just simply a bloodline, we try to market it, if you will. And we form our little groups, our little cliques. So, there's no telling which group these people were allegedly part of at one time. I believe that's the story. The story is not that they are part of such group. The story is that they were at one time part of a group. Now, things you have to consider about that. If they were just one-time members of such a group and they are no longer such members, why would the media even bother to mention that? See, anytime these white shooters, mass shooters, commit one of their crimes, we always hear the story afterwards where the cops went through their online profiles and checked back through their internet logs to see what websites they went to and what forums they posted on, what YouTube videos they watched, what Facebook groups they were members of. And they always seem to find a white nationalist type website or group that they were once members of, or white supremacist group or something like that. And so when they find that, they make sure to mention that. Now, in this case, them mentioning that these people were at one time part of some black Hebrew Israelite groups is the media's way of basically vilifying such groups. Vilifying them in respect to the Jews. Claiming that we are a hate group that hates the Jews. don't know about the rest of the Israelite groups out there, but from an individual Israelite perspective, nothing about our heritage is hatred towards the Ashkenazis or the Sephardi's, aka the Jews. See, those people like to twist it up as hatred because they feel that we are taking something from them. See, they're very loose with the term hatred. Very, very loose with it. They take the meaning from it. See, hatred is really only supposed to be reserved for incidents of oppression, overt hardship, bloodshed, things like that, psychological torment. That's really what the word hatred is supposed to be used for. Hatred is not supposed to be used for someone having a different ideology than your own. But when we talk about the Ashkenazis and the Sephardi's, the concept of calling someone hateful towards them for simply not believing their story is par for the course. They've been doing this for over 60 years. So, when it comes to this incident, they wish to apparently make it seem like Hebrew Israelites have it in for the Ashkenazis and the Sephardi's. They want to make it seem like we are gunning for them somehow. Because when you have people who are so entrenched in their beliefs that if you start to challenge those beliefs, you don't have to oppress them. You don't have to draw blood on them. You don't have to call them names. You don't have to make them endure any kind of psychological torment. You simply disagreeing with them in their beliefs is enough for them to see you as a hateful enemy. They will look at you in the same light as someone who is truly attacking them, harming them. So, we have this incident. Supposedly, allegedly, these individuals were one time part of an Hebrew Israelite group. What group they were supposedly part of at one time is not mentioned. But I don't really think it needs to be mentioned, because this just reaffirms something I said a few videos ago. That I do truly believe that many of these Hebrew Israelite groups, particularly the camps that produce these street preachers, that many of them are actually manufactured fronts. They are fronts manufactured by various Gentiles. They have FBI informants in them. And their main purpose has been to not enlighten us slave descendant Israelites to our true heritage, but to, in truth, frighten us away from it. We've all seen the videos of these various camps and how they sit out there on street corners and preach brimstone and hellfire on virtually anyone that looks in their general direction. They are instigators. They are agitators. And they do it all under the guise of teaching people. The only thing they are teaching people is to see any slave descendant Israelites who reclaim their heritage and call themselves what they truly are as being the same as these people who are hollering at them, screaming at them, cursing at them, telling them how they're going to be killed, telling them how they're going to be slaughtered. I always notice that those of us who seem to hold on to the New Testament, which these camps all do, those of us who do that seem to be broken in more than one place. They seem to be, deranged to a certain degree. I can only chalk it up to the New Testament and the belief of the Godson, and the obvious spell that book, the New Testament, seems to weave on the minds of our people. We seem to lose the concept of reason. We seem to lose the concept of rational thought and logic. And it turns us into a caricature, a cartoon character with exaggerated features. Our belief in who we are is exaggerated. Instead of just seeing us as a bloodline of people with a certain heritage, we start to see ourselves as, it's just, it's just the strangest thing. It's the number of variations I've seen from our people in regards to our Israelite heritage, and those of us who are still calling on the Holy Trinity, those of us who are still living by the concepts of the New Testament. It is mind-boggling. It is truly mind-boggling. And it's very inconsistent. It's very chaotic, if you will. Now, those of us who have abandoned the New Testament, it just seems like there's a lot more stability and understanding there. And there certainly is a whole lot more humility. When you truly understand that we are not a people that should be bragging about anything. We're not a people who should be mocking anyone. We're not a people who should be threatening anyone. We were not put into this situation for a vacation, for doing right. We did wrong. We did wrong greater than anyone else on this planet. And I am not exaggerating there. According to Scripture, that is how the Most High viewed our ancestors. They were conducting sin greater than the very people who he had them evict from the land of Canaan. Our ancestors failed to sin greater than the people who the Most High empowered them against to kill and murder. You have to think about that for a moment. The people who the Most High gave our ancestors the ability to kill and murder in mass in order to remove them from that land, our ancestors turned around and eclipsed them in wrongdoing and wickedness. So we ain't a people who should be threatening anyone. not in the state that we're in. And it just seems that those of us who have abandoned the New Testament and are sticking solely to the Tanakh, the Old Testament, seem to have a better understanding of that. And as a result, are far more humble. Far more humble. So, when it comes to these two individuals that shot up this kosher market, whether this was a legitimate event and the Gentiles and heathens are just, not letting a good crisis go to waste, if you will. They're just capitalizing off of it, or whether this was actually a staged event. You can see how this can very easily be connected to the Hebrew Israelite camps, the street preachers. I could easily see them doing a news story about the growing threat of the black Hebrew Israelites. And I guarantee you, the vast majority of those clips and videos that they show will be from these street preachers. It will be the videos of them cursing people out. It'll be the videos of them in various arguments with passerbys. It'll be the videos of them making people cry and all that different kind of stuff. Yeah, we taking it to Esau, 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 Esau. Everybody on this planet isn't Esau. Everybody involved in our captivity isn't Esau. I mean, goodness gracious. I mean, when it comes to the Jews, what you're looking at there is Ashkenazis, Sephardis. Ashkenazis are from the line of Japhet. The Sephardis are from the line of Canaan. They're Hamites. Both of them have been mixed with the line of Cain. That's where they get their lighter skin pigmentation from. That's where the light skin pigmentation comes from. It's Cain's people. All of Noah's sons were black. Cain's people are the ones that put the curse of light skin pigmentation into the human gene pool. No, it was not a mutation of albinoism or anything like that. That is the curse that the Most High put on Cain. And he spread that around. Cain's people were not destroyed during the flood. The Most High was not willing to destroy the bloodline of Cain, just like he did not destroy the bloodline of Seth, which Noah came from. Now, there are conflicting arguments as to how Cain's people survived. Some people believe that Noah's wife was from the line of Cain, and that's how his DNA survived. Other people, like myself, believe that Cain's line was preserved via other means. Since we're talking about a flood on the planet, there are two ways to survive such an event back then. One, the ark, a ship. Two, find the highest ground you can find, i.e. a mountain. That's how I believe Cain's people survived. They went high, high, high into the mountains. As for the Nephilim Those beings that came from the merging of man with the sons of the Most High, those were Cain's people. So that's how the Nephilim DNA still survives to this day. It was preserved through Cain's people. After the flood and everybody started spreading around again, DNA started being spread around. So that's pretty much how it all worked out. But yeah, I digressed right there. But just to get back to my point about the camps and how events like this truly can be used to capitalize off of the shenanigans that the camps are known for, the street preachers. You have to come to understand that, like I said at the beginning, it's like a game of chess. You put your pieces in place, and then you eventually work your way up to your big move. These camps were put in place, and they raised hell. They gave slave descendant Israelites who acknowledged their heritage a bad name in the common masses. See, these people don't know all the nuances there is when it comes to those of us who acknowledge our Israelite heritage. They think that they think in very general terms, and their general terms are formed by what they see the most. And what they see the most, what are the most visible representation of Israelites, of slave descendant Israelites who acknowledge their heritage? It is the camps. It's the people out on the street corner hollering at folk. So now they see this event. They remember back to how the camps always talked about murdering and killing people, or saying that God was going to do it. And they start to associate the two. And that starts to allow a narrative to be formed. A narrative that in the minds of people, once again, like I said, who have a very general understanding of us Israelites, that will easily be formed to perceive us as being some type of terrorist group, or at least a bona fide hate group on the same level as the KKK. Now, what does this mean for those of us who acknowledge our Israelite heritage? Well, fortunately, people cannot read your mind. So you can think whatever you want about yourself. You can know whatever you want about yourself. And if you ain't going around telling folk anything, it ain't going to mean much of anything at all. But I think this is mainly designed as a attempt to stop a progress. This is to take the steam out of a movement. This makes people a bit more hesitant to get into this understanding. Because unfortunately, most people are highly concerned about their image in the eyes of other folk. And it's a shame game, if you will. You start calling yourself, an Israelite, These people, the general person, the general layman, will remember this shooting in New Jersey and how those two individuals allegedly were Israelites, part of the Israelite group. And then if they decide to do a bit more research, they go to YouTube, for instance, and type in Black Hebrew Israelite. What is the first thing they're going to see pop up in the search results? The camps and their street preaching antics. Chess. So I wouldn't say this is an assault on us. This is more a shame tactic to try to keep our numbers from growing, to keep the understanding from spreading. And in a sense, that does factor in with Scripture. The Most High does say that there will be a time when knowledge will be cut off. You know, it's a window of opportunity, and eventually that window will be closed. So it's the kind of situation where you have to get in while you can. If you ain't in now, they're going to try to make it harder and harder for you to get in. Now, Donald Trump also, and this isn't obviously not a coincidence, within the same day or day after, I don't know, we have Donald Trump signing some kind of executive order that would establish the religion of Judaism as a nationality. Yeah. Anyway, that is a direct violation of the Constitution. Now, this opens up anyone who is mocking Jews. Now this is on the college campuses. Now, this is not like throughout the entire nation, just walking down the street or something like that. This is on college campuses. So basically, which when you think about college campuses, you're really talking about the heart of the beast, well, the mind of the beast. This is college campuses are where the assimilation is done. So I don't really know if there was much questioning of Jews on college campuses or doing anything, but towards them there. But now, simply questioning any of their official stories can be perceived as hate speech. So things like this are present in other countries, but other countries are not, they don't have, a law, a supreme law of the land that says that you have the right to speak your mind, the First Amendment. So it's very unusual for something like this to happen here. But what I think when it comes to stuff like that, I think it really is more of what I was saying. It's a sign of them closing the doors. They're closing the doors. If you're going to their college campuses, you're not going to find out anything about your Israelite heritage there. Definitely not. These are moves to seal up the knowledge. I think that's the phase that we're in. It's an attempt to slow down the progress. kind of on a lighter note, or maybe a darker note, depending on how you look at it. Just want to highlight how downright crazy Gentiles can be. Now, we've all heard the saying, where the sun doesn't shine. Well, leave it to Gentiles to even expose that place to sunlight and call it a good thing. There's some kind of new trend, health trend going around where individuals will lie down on their back, put their legs up in the air, strip butt naked. Well, I should have said that first. They strip butt naked, lie down on their backs, put their legs up in the air, spread them, and let sunshine just literally shine right down into the crack of their asses. I'm talking about right down into the squinty part, if you will. I mean, nothing is left to be imagined. It's all in the light of day, if you will. The reason why they do this is because the skin is very thin down there. And as a result, it is believed that the rate of vitamin D production in the body can be supercharged from letting sunlight shine there for just a mere 30 seconds. So it's a way to get a vitamin D shot right into the crack of your ass. And it has already produced the predictable comedic end result, where a Hollywood actor, I think that guy that played Thanos in the Avengers, managed to give himself sunburn on his asshole by doing this. So, yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure a lot of Thanos jokes and can come from that. But, yeah, these Gentiles, they're always looking for the edge, by the strength of their own hands is how the Bible describes them. That's what they live by. That's where their strength lies, in their minds. But I certainly don't think we'll see any black people letting sun shine right down in their ass like that. But even if we did see some, I'm pretty sure they'd have to do it for a lot longer than 30 seconds before they got sunburned down there. Just chalk it up to one of the many benefits of melanin. Shalom.